Let us see how OpenPyXL can create charts. Now you can see the documentation on the official OpenPyXL website, and you can see the different types of charts that are supported. Now do note here that the new charts available on Excel like the funnel, waterfall, tree map will not be available here. So we have area, bar and column, bubble, line, scatter, pie and donut, radar, stock and surface charts. So let's do a simple example. So from OpenPy Excel, I want to import load. No, in fact, let's just import a workbook so we can create our own data. And from OpenPy Excel dot chart, I want to import two things. So one is a bar chart and the other is a reference. So our workbook is equal to workbook and the sheet is equal to the active sheet. So workbook dot active. Let us create some sample data. So rows is equal to, so we want three columns here. So we'll call them product and online and store. And then we will write some numbers. So I'm just, there's no pattern to these numbers. I'm just writing them. So 1, 30, 45. Then we have 240, let's say 30. Then we have 3, 40, 25. We have 4, 60, 20. Then we have 5. Let's just make 3 more rows. So 5, 20, and 25. And 6, 40, and 25. And then one final time we have 7, and 20, and 50. All right. So now we will say that for row in rows, we want to do a sheet dot append, and then the chart that we want to create is a bar chart, and the data is equal to reference worksheet is equal to sheet. We want to keep the minimum row as 1. We have the maximum row as 8. We have the minimum column as 2, and we have the maximum column as 3. Okay, then we can add the chart. So chart dot add data, and then data, and then titles from data is equal to true, and then we say sheet dot add underscore chart. Here you can select where do you want to place the chart. So let's say I want to place it in F2, and then we can finally save the workbook as chart1 dot xlsx. Okay, let's just quickly see if I've got something wrong. One moment. Okay, I forgot a comma here, and there's still something incorrect. Wait. Okay, this has to be titles from data, and the name chart1 is not defined. Okay, this has to be inside double quotes, and it's working now. So if we go back to our folder, you would see that we have a chart1.xlsx, and in this we have the data set like this, which we just created, and the chart has been created starting at F2. So that is the basic idea. All the charts would be very similar to this one. I'll just do one more example, but then you can practice the others on your own. So I want to import random, and then from OpenPy Excel, I want to import workbook, and from OpenPy Excel dot chart, I want to import a line chart and the reference. So workbook is equal to workbook. Then our sheet is equal to workbook dot active, and we want to create some sample data. So our rows is equal to, so we want to write the 12 months here. So we'll simply write January. We have February, March, then we have April, May, and then June. We have July, August, September, October, November, and then finally we have December. And then we can, in fact, let me just break this down into a few lines. So it's a little easier for us to manage. Okay, and then we say 1, and then we have 2, and then we have 3. Excellent. So for row in rows, I want to do a sheet dot append row, and then again we say for row in sheet dot iter underscore rows, I want to keep the minimum row as 2. We want to keep the maximum row as 4. Then we have the minimum column as 2, and the maximum column will be 13 because there are 12 months. Then we can say for cell in row, the cell value is equal to random dot rand range. Now, because I did not want to write all these numbers manually, I'm using a random number generator, let's say between 5 and 100. Okay, so chart is equal to a line chart, and then the data is equal to reference, worksheet is equal to sheet, and my minimum row is equal to 2, my maximum row is equal to 4, the minimum column is equal to 1, and finally the maximum column is equal to 13. And once we have done this, we can then say charts, or rather chart dot add data from rows is equal to true, and the titles from data is also something we want, so this will be equal to true. Sheet dot add chart, and then chart, and let's say we want to show the chart in any cell, let's say D7. And now we want to rename the x and the y axis, so rename x and y axis. So this would be chart dot x dot no underscore axis dot title, which is equal to my months, and then we have chart dot y underscore axis dot title, which is equal to sales, let's say, per unit. And then you can apply different styles as well. The codes for these styles you can find on the internet on the official documentation. So I want to choose a style, let's say 24, and finally we want to save our workbook. So we have a line chart dot xlsx. Excellent. Let's see what has been created. So we have a line chart, and the line chart would look like this. Remember, the numbers are randomly generated, and this is the result that we get. So we have 12 months at the top, we have 1, 2, and 3 rows, and we have the random numbers, and the line chart has been created like this. If we change the style to a different number, if I make it 20, and I reopen the workbook, you will notice that the style would have changed. So the colors have changed here. So remember, there are several types of charts available. You can see the official documentation on the website. The problem with charts would be that there are a lot of small changes that you can make inside. So there are a lot of methods available. It's not particularly difficult, but you will just have to spend a little bit of time and be very careful when you're creating charts.